Another fine night was passing. I was feeling pretty good for once. Erie was healing up despite her heart issues, and all was quiet around the homestead. The critters had been well fed. They were all sleeping in their bed. A bunch of crazy mad rabbits decided to try and take a run at us all at that point. It wasn't terribly exciting. I had all my doors closed, so they didn't even take runs at my traps. They just buggered around like mad critters. I decided to ignore them, stick to my research plan, see if I could accomplish something for a change. Hamlet was running around, having a good old time. I think he's a little bored, but occasionally he'd play with the other dogs. Researching was going well. I felt like I was making good progress. My crazy little exploding rat opened up one of my doors, and he got swarmed by them rabbits. He managed to kill one. I had to run on out, gun at the ready, take out the one that got in. It didn't take much, being that it was just a rabbit. That exploding rat, on the other hand, didn't take any real damage, but I was gonna get him treated up anyways. Can't have that guy dying, blowing up part of my home. There was another rabbit out there somewhere. I wasn't too afraid of him though. Got that done, went inside and had a meal. The stupid buzzing started, upsetting me a little bit, just droning in my ear. There wasn't much I could do. I sat down to play a little chess, try and ease some stress, before I finally got around to tending that little boom rat. He wasn't beat up too bad. He'd be just fine, but I treated him and fed him anyways. Seemed like the right thing to do. By then it was time to feed Erie. She was still laid up. After that, I had to rebuild the trap. That crazy little mad rabbit down in the south of the home taking one of the traps out, so it's always work. And about that point, one of my dogs came down with the flu, and I was upset at myself, letting them inside my home once again. They sure do make a big mess. Well, Lisa was pregnant, so I decided I should probably pay some attention to her. Much as I didn't want any more dogs, certainly didn't want all these animals running around inside my home. I was going to have to do something about that. The place was a real pigsty, so I treated Lisa, and I ran around and did a ton of cleaning. I don't think you can really stay on top of this mess, all these animals running around, spreading filth. But the little boom rat was healing up just fine. Gave him a little food, decided to make some more kibble, which it did. Butchered up those rabbits so I'd have some spare meat on hand. I was running a little bit short on meat, but not too bad. And I had a meal. I was off to bed. Some visitors passed by at some point. I kind of ignored them. One of them crazy big creatures with a spike on its head was wandering by. I wasn't going to go out there and mess with that thing though. He looked about as mean as it could get. When I woke up, some cleaning, some horseshoes was in order. The boom rat was running around, being as friendly as you could believe. And Lisa is doing alright, getting over that flu. After throwing horseshoes, I had a meal, sat back down, do a little more research. Still working my way, figured out how to make some kind of communication system. Be nice to talk to people. Lisa needed feeding, so I gave her a proper meal, which might be more than she deserved. Hopefully, at some point, I could sell these dogs off. While sitting and researching, it occurred to me my beer is probably getting close to being ready. So I decided get that stuff taken care of. I don't want to leave it in there too long. The Lord knows I don't need any more beer, seeing as I've certainly had my share in my day. I got the beer taken care of. Sat down and had one. having a conversation with Erie. I had more beer than I was ever going to drink, so I went on one heck of a bender. A rat stepped on one of my traps. I was going to have to take care of that as well. A little more rat meat, I guess, won't hurt. Dog sure would like it. I got the rat taken care of and the trap rebuilt. And then it was back to research. Pretty much a staple of my day. Some more of that ambrosia sprouted up nearby while I was researching. And that was a good thing. That always comes in handy, and it is delicious. I researched for a while, cleaned, and then ate, and then cleaned some more before heading off to bed. Erie seemed to be healing really well, and I was happy with myself for that. I'd done the right thing. She got up and wandered off not too long after that. She was happy. I was happy to have helped her, and glad she didn't try to stay. I was back to researching, as exciting as that was, before I decided maybe some meat would be in order. And while going out for that meat, I found a bunch more ambrosia. It was all ready to go. That would be delicious. I hunted some goats. Had pretty good luck taking them down. Fortunately, they didn't get mad, try and come at me. I took out 3 of them. And about that time, some wanderer came along, decided he wanted to live with me, join me, as I took out that 4th goat. No real threat there. Hamlet was helping me carry him on in, which was much appreciated. Bennett was the wanderer's name. He had a bit of a scratch scar. Seemed like kind of a creepy fella. It wasn't wearing much either. I didn't let him hang out though. I'm sure he had his eyes set on my clothing. I wasn't going to have that. I got those rams brought in. Fed Lisa. She was still down and out with the flu. I was hoping she wouldn't lose the puppy, much as I didn't want any more puppies. I butchered up the rams I'd brought in. And there was still a few more laying, so I decided to run on out. Get one of them brought in, taken care of. Hoping Hamlet bring the other one in for me at some point. I could probably train these huskies up the hall, but I didn't want to get too attached. Thought about making myself some more pemmican, but I had plenty on hand. And I sat down to chill out in my guest quarters. It was a pretty nice space. I liked being in there. Hamlet did indeed bring that last ram in for me, and that was nice of him. It's about that time. I was tending Lisa for the flu. Some visitors showed up. As I was out pulling corn out of the ground, they came on in, walked right by me. It seemed like they had some stuff to trade. I sold some of the scuzzy clothing I had, one joint, because I had plenty of those to spare. Hauled in some of the corn I'd plucked, and then I went to bed. The next morning, some pemmican was in order, followed by finishing up with the corn. It was nice dealing with this over those potatoes. Doesn't take as much of a guy's time, and that's appreciated. Once that was done, I ran on out, see about getting all that ambrosia taken care of. And I got out there, decided maybe Lisa needed some attention, so I had to run on back in, deal with her. She is recovering just fine. I don't think she's going to be in any real danger. So I took care of the rest of that ambrosia, and I got it all carried in. Looked like I'd get another crop out of that if I let it go long enough, so that was good. Hamlet needed some training at that point, so I got him taken care of. Spent a little time teaching him how to attack anybody that was threatening me. Homestead was a mess, so I researched for a minute and got up and did a bunch of cleaning. I was thinking about building some shelves, maybe put some beer on there, maybe some smoke leaf joints. I don't really need any of that in all honesty. Then my hops were ready once again. I like to keep the beer going, So I brought them on in. Seemed like the right thing to do. As well as the corn and the silver them traders had left around, and I'd plucked out of the ground, respectively. As I was hauling those hops, I heard some crazy, scratching, screeching noises. Weren't too far away. Some crazy insects tunneled right out of the ground. That's definitely that noise I'd been hearing and had been avoiding. I knew that was for good cause. I knew something was going to have to happen. I was sleeping at the time. I wasn't happy with how it was going. I had forgotten, after mining out a bunch of steel, to fill all that mountain back in. Now I was going to be in trouble. Something else I was going to have to deal with, rather than getting the research done I needed to get done. I got a call on a bandit camp quest as well. I decided to ignore it, seeing as I was going to have my hands full with these crazy critters. Lisa was still down and out, needed feeding. And the animals needed some food as well, so I took care of that before trying to mess with those critters that had come on out of the ground. Quite a few of them, and they looked pretty tough. I took my gun out there anyway. Decided to see if I could let some of them have it. I shot one of them a couple times. It was actually just running on away from me. So maybe I thought these aren't going to be too bad to deal with. Little did I know, and it didn't take long before all of them came rushing at me. I was trying to shoot them, see if I could kill them, at least kill a few before they got to me, but I panicked, ran back inside, hoping they wouldn't get through my doors. The tiniest ones were dying on my traps, the bigger ones were smashing at my doors and my walls. Some of the bigger ones went down on my traps but didn't quite die. And one of the big ones was rushing me. It ended up going down on my traps as well. I only left one big one, and he ended up getting a hold of me right in the left hand. He gave me a nasty cut. I'd shot him up pretty good, and he was still coming pretty fast. I decided I better make a solid run, see if I could use my other traps, lure him in, and kill him that way. Sadly, they got distracted by my exploding rat, which may not have been the saddest thing, because two of the medium-sized ones started attacking my rat, and the old guy went down, only a couple scratches from them stupid things. I took off running once again, decided maybe I better hightail it out of here. They were hot on my tail though, and I figured there was no way I was going to get away from this one. Fortunately, my llama was nearby, and maybe they'd get distracted by him if I could get them close to it. So I ran around the llama, and sure enough, they decided to attack him. And while they were attacking that llama, I was shooting him up as best I could, hoping the rat didn't explode behind me somewhere, and hoping I didn't accidentally shoot Hamlet as well, which would be majorly disappointing. But he escaped. Between the llama and I, we took down one of those critters, and we both kept on the other one till it went down. That llama fared better than I thought it would. Turns out it's an alpaca, not a llama. I never could tell the difference. I decided I better rescue that exploding rat sooner rather than later. Decided to tend it right on the spot rather than trying to take it inside where it might blow up on me. So that's what I did. I tended it up just to make it so he could walk again. He wasn't out of the woods by any means. The alpaca managed to get itself inside, so I ran over, did some tending on that guy as well. I was going to have to get over there and destroy them bug hives, but I wanted my alpaca alive. My exploding rat went down once again. He got rescued by Hamlet though. Good boy that he is. Brought the boom rat right in, put him in a bed. He's the best dog I've ever heard of. So I tended up that boom rat, and I fed him just so he wouldn't starve to death and explode. I got back to tending that alpaca as well. There were half-dead bugs all over the place. I was hoping none of them would stand up, trying to attack me or one of my critters. But I had to get that alpaca tended. At some point, I'd like to visit some neighbors, do some trading, and I was going to need that fella. He was beat up pretty bad, but didn't lose any limbs, and that was fortunate. It took a whole lot of time to get him tended up. I still needed to get myself tended as well, lest I end up with a permanent scar. Felt like it took all day to get that alpaca tended, and I eventually got it done. At that point, I was darn near starving to death, but I decided to treat myself anyways. Don't need my hand falling off or something, getting an infection. So I had some pemmican after that. I was well tended. It hurt, but I've been in worse pain, that's for sure. And rather than going to bed, I decided I'd better get on out, shoot up those bug nests before more of them darn things appear. So that's what I did next. There's all kinds of weird looking insect stuff around. Must be what they eat. Who knows? Plus they had some crazy little glow pod looking things. Remind me of glowworms from when I was a kid back on Earth. Except they weren't shaped like worms, but they did glow the same. So I shot up the first 2 hives, ran around the corner, got the last one. And at that point, most of the bugs seemed to have died on their own, which was fortunate. One of them got up and wandered a bit, but it didn't get too far. So I ran on inside, took that guy out. My heel root was ready for harvest. That was fortunate. I could use these bugs, make food for the animals, so that'd be great. I don't think they're gonna know the difference or care whether they get insect meat or not. So I was gonna focus on making their food out of insect meat for a while. In the meantime, I had to get myself to bed. That was a heck of a day. I'd taken a wound, almost lost a couple critters, and I'd had enough. When I got up, pemmican was on the menu, as is typical. My critters were healing up alright. I was gonna have to feed them before too long though. But I felt like I needed to have some fun, so I just smiled and tossed horseshoes for a bit. That was a good use of my time. And while doing that, one of my power cables exploded. Did some damage to my walls, but fortunately, nothing being made out of wood anymore. Really saved my bacon this time. There was no fire. And that's exactly why I didn't make this homestead out of wood, like I did the first couple times. You'd think I'd learn a lesson. I had smoke leaf rotting away. And I couldn't figure out why. Turns out the power had gone out due to the exploding power cable shorting out my batteries. And I butchered up those insects. Many as I could anyway. They'd make great animal feed. And their bodies are just laying around looking ugly anyways. There's going to be a whole slew of traps to rebuild here. About that time a mad rat showed up, thinking he'd get the better of me, which was unfortunate since I didn't have any traps to keep me safe at that point. So I was going to have to deal with him. But again, he's just a little rat, so I was able to take it out pretty quick. I'd have to get these traps rebuilt sooner rather than later, and get my doors closed again as well. I should be plucking this heel root too, so I can get to growing more. Nice to have my own supply of medicine, even if it wasn't as effective. At least I'd have something, and I could use it on the animals. For the minute though, bedtime was in order. And when I woke up, the boom rat was hungry. He lost his rear right paw. Poor little guy. Wasn't going to move as quick as before. But he'll figure it out, I'm sure. I was rebuilding traps. Thinking about hauling dead insects around, but there was really nowhere to put them all. I wasn't too concerned with it though. They could lay where they are as far as I'm concerned. hauled some steel out. Decided to go view some fancy artwork I'd brought back once upon a time. One of my coolers had broke down at that point too, so I had to get that repaired. And then I wanted some pemmican. All this running around wears me out. A big lump of steel fell out of the sky about that time as well. For now it's gonna lay. I had some traps to rebuild. The alpaca was certainly hungry by now, so I ran on over to feed him. She seemed right happy. If an alpaca can smile, I'd say she smiled at me. So I was rebuilding traps, hauling steel around, and the temperature started going up, making me right uncomfortable. But there was nothing for it. I was going to have to build a bunch of walls where those insects had sprouted up. Certainly couldn't have that happening again. Them things are tough as it gets, man. If I wouldn't have had my traps, I wouldn't have been doing too well. The critters were running like mad from something out there. I saw them all headed in one direction. I don't know what was going on. There's a flash storm on. Maybe they're afraid of the thunder or the lightning or something. It sure was going off everywhere. There were fires all around. Now I was busy building wooden walls, filling where those critters had come up out of the ground. That was definitely going to have to be one of my next focus. I was going to stay safe around here. Unfortunately, that meteor didn't hit that old weird building nearby. I'd probably have them crazy robots to deal with once again as well. I hauled all the weird little jelly stuff in those insects had left. And then I was off to bed. It was pretty hot, which was unfortunate. I was getting heat stroke, I'm pretty sure. The fires were blazing. I was snoozing it away. Fortunately, the AC felt great. The boom rat was still down and out. I fed him some insect meat, and of course he didn't seem to mind, which was fortunate. After that I had myself some pemmican, decided maybe some cleaning would be in order here. I've been letting things go. At least the animals weren't running through here all the time anymore, and solved that problem. So I cleaned for a bit, grabbed a bunch of wood, went on over to work on my walls, filling in that mountain area. Decided I'd just chop a bunch of trees right over there. Rather than running back and forth to my storeroom, I could just make some wood right on the spot and save me some serious time. And it's nice to be outside despite the rain. So I built some walls, and about that time a pleasant feeling settled over me. And that was good. That buzzing in my ear had gone away at some point. I didn't even notice. I'd been so crazy dealing with these insect things. Having sick animals. Feels like it never ends. Anyway, I worked through rebuilding all those walls. There was one stupid chunk of rock in the way I had to deal with the whole time. I decided to take those weird insect lights apart. I didn't want those freaky things around. I just disassembled them. And the boom rat was hungry once again. I was hoping the little guy'd be able to get up and move around on his own at some point. I repaired all my walls where I'd shot them up, trying to take those insects out and where they'd attacked them. The insect meat was rotting away on me, but there wasn't much I could do about it. I plucked as much heel root as I had time for, and I had a little bit of pemmican. Decided maybe a little more heel root would be useful today before heading on in and going to bed. While I was sleeping, the boom rat was back to his normal self, minus that leg. So that was good. The fires had all gone out too in the rain. Somebody called me, saying they were being chased. Right as I was finishing, getting all the heel root out of the ground, I decided I really didn't want to be rebuilding traps. Carried in the heel root, had some pemmican, replanted all the hops, got the heel root back in the ground as well. After that, it was time to chill out for a minute, sit in my guest room, admiring the place before finishing planting heel root. Then I decided to toss some horseshoes, my old favorite pastime. Despite the heat, and I was pretty sure I was heat stroking by then, I hung out outside doing that for a bit. And I went in the freezer, grabbed some pemmican. The alpaca needed shearing by then. Despite everything, she'd come through. Still had some wool to give. I had to spend a little time training her up, making her tame. She was starting to get a little feral on me. I didn't want her to wander off. After that, took a bunch of insect meat, made a bunch of kibble for the critters. Good to be using that for them rather than something I would eat. And then I was off to bed. Woke up about 4 a.m. Did a ton of cleaning. Place was a pigsty. Then I had a little feed. There was rotting insects all around. I decided I was going to need a bunch more steel if I was going to make this work. So I built a torch and mined for a while. I spent a good amount of time that day mining. I was much better at this than I used to be, and it seemed to go a lot faster. I did as much as I felt like doing, worked till about 6 p.m. Hauled in as much as I could. I went on inside. Time to just chill out, relax for a spell. That's what I did. At my fancy table, next to my fancy little chest table as well. I was thinking about making some softer chairs to sit around on. As I was taking those hobs and turning them into wart later on. Once that was all done, tossed it in the fermenting barrel. I went off to bed. Hopefully I could sell all this beer to somebody. I was sitting on a mountain of it. I was sleeping pretty well, having a good night. Hamlet next to me, as he should be. He got up, and then I got up. I got a note on an item stash quest. Someone had some real fancy armor for me. And I was pretty sure I was going to make it out and see if I could accomplish picking this stuff up. This would make my life a little easier. It was only a few days away. I had the pemmican to go get it. Seemed like there was some kind of pissed off beavers guarding the thing. I could probably deal with them. For now, I headed on out. Took that torch down I'd built earlier for mining. Hauled in as much steel as I could. I'm sure Hamlet would get the rest for me. Such a sweet dog. Then I was back to researching. Still had quite a ways to go. I wasn't making much progress trying to figure this out. But I get there. It was nice to sit in a comfy chair despite the mess on the floor around me. I'd certainly been in uglier spots, that's for sure. I'd still like to get rid of all that wood flooring I did under my turbines. I was debating on that while researching. It was a mess, and it would burn should another fire start around here. But in the meantime, I was feeling rather decent, making some progress on the research for once. All the pets were fed. I can't wait to get rid of some of these buggers. Too many dogs for one fella. So I researched away the rest of that day. Hamlet come in to say hi once in a while. Happy little fellow that he is. I was getting rather adept at researching. Certainly was figuring things out faster than I used to. Eventually I had to get up and have some food before getting back up and sitting down for more research. I was almost halfway there, I figured, but it was still going to be a while. I decided to get up and do some cleaning. That'd probably speed up my progress. All this tinkering I was doing wouldn't have so much dust and dirt in the mix. So I got up and did that cleaning. For too long anyway. I had myself another feed, because why not? And then I was off to bed. Another fine night. Felt like I'd made a little bit of progress, but not as much as I'd like. I was going to have to gear up to go get that armor, which I was looking forward to. For the minute, all was quiet on the homestead, except my boom rat returned to the wild at that point. But oh well. Served me well while he was here. He was a good guy, and I wished him well.